My name is Andrea Éltető. I come from the Institute for World Economics, and my question would be a short one to Mr. Darvash. You showed us a very gloomy picture about Greece, and my question would be, what would you suggest what to do with Greece? Because you said that the Monday solution is not enough, according to you.
Yeah, sure.
Please want to collect some questions?
Is there any immediate question, maybe connected with this one? South of Europe, Greece, Eurozone, consolidation issue. Well, if this is not yet the case, would you answer the first question?
Okay, thank you for the question. Now, I mean, Greece has a large number of problems, many structural issues, which I think the Troika is well, addresses well and push the Greek government to implement that. But in order the structural adjustment be successful, somehow these fears that Greece may exit the euro should be somehow fought back. And the Monday agreement, whereby they plan to reach 126.6% of GDP public debt by 2020, and now there is this discussion whether it should be 126.6 or instead 124. I mean, it's difficult to find good words how to describe this debate, because clearly, I mean, none of this would be sufficient. I mean, the goal should be that Greece, sooner or later, enter the market and will be able to borrow from the market in order to pay back the official loans. And certainly, I mean, market funding should be at an interest rate which is affordable for Greece. Now, if Greek public debt would remain so high for so long, even if there is another target of 110% by 2 years later, 122, is clearly not sufficient. So what I proposed is that there should be a more ambitious plan for addressing the public debt sustainability of Greece. I mean, some people say that there should be write-down of official debt. I don't say that. What I say instead is that I mean, there should be a very long period of delaying or deferring interest rate payments. So basically, zero interest rate lending for Greece, but not just from official creditors. And now they agree that the EFSF will basically do that, and then Greece will pay back later this interest subsidy. But I think all creditors, including the IMF, even though it's much more complicated because of the IMF governance, so all official lenders should commit zero interest rate lending for Greece for about a decade. If this is implemented along with the other measures which are also considered, including the buyback, although it's extremely unclear how they wish to buy back, and there are many uncertainties about that, then they may reach a public debt below 100% of GDP by 2020, but only if the economy would not deteriorate more than what is currently expected, and will pick up as currently expected they expect about 4.6% nominal growth in the medium term. So what I also propose is that the official loans to Greece should be indexed to Greek GDP. Because if that's done, then if the economy deteriorates further, then the public debt to GDP ratio does not deteriorate more. On the contrary, if growth will pick up much faster than currently expected, then also official creditors will benefit. And certainly there should be no free gift. So, I mean, Greece should try to pay back this subsidy. But I think it's not possible realistically within the next 2 decades. So there should be a very, very long horizon given to Greece to pay back this interest rate subsidy. And of course, all the structural reforms, which the Commission is keen, should be continued.
Thank you, Zsolt. András.
Certainly, there are many debated questions as concerning that single supervisory mechanism is enough or not, and how to deal with that in technical terms. But my question is mainly political one, not economic one. So, what is your perception that how the 27 member countries will adopt to that new new situation. Certainly, the banking union, the political union, the fiscal union needs federalistic, much more federalistic European Union than recently.
And if we analyze the situation, there are many countries among member states who are not for that, maybe definitely against that. UK, sometimes Czech Republic, sometimes Hungary, for example. So all in all, what is the real picture in your mind, certainly as your personal view, because that's an official question. So what is the picture in your mind? What type of Europe will be with that very difficult new infrastructure?
Thank you for the question. Who is going to start answering?
I will do the first try. And no, I want to really insist, as you said, that it is a personal reflection, because those are very big and difficult points on which I'm pretty sure that there is no monolithical answer, and I'm not here to speak on behalf of the Commission on this. But I can share with you some reflections, because obviously we, let's say the staff, when we try to devise solutions, we also ask ourselves, how is this possible to make it work? And that's probably one of the differences between the independent colleagues and ourselves, in the sense that when we put forward proposals, we are almost sure that this is not the first best. Because we as a Commission, we have to put on the table something that it is ambitious enough, that it's really forward-looking enough in order to get things out of the ground, but at the same time that they have some chances to reach a decision point, because otherwise it's just ignored. It would be a good analytical piece, but just ignored. So what I mean by this is that at this point in time, I think, and I already said, that it's absolutely essential to go into the details. It is no use to talk about big words, about big ideas, because we have to see under the big idea how and what we can do. And in a way, that's what we have tried to put in this blueprint with this short, medium, long term, that we had lots of internally back and forth about how much we could put in the short or in the medium. So if you would do a blueprint without any constraint, one would say, okay, let's put everything in the short term, okay, because what we want is to reach the final stage. But we try to devise a course of action that could be translated into some implementation in the short term. And let me use this blueprint to go a bit to your point about how the 27 and what are the chances to move forward. I think that clearly the euro area implies needs and constraints that the others do not have. So in a way, the approach that has been taken in the recent months or 1 or 2 years is to say, let's build things that are necessary for the euro area and let's keep them open for the others to join. So I think that the whole construction is trying to walk along this fine line. But what cannot be is that if there is one of the 27 that doesn't want to move forward, that everything is blocked, because the euro area cannot survive like this. So clearly one has to have this balanced approach between doing what is necessary for the euro area while leaving open the possibility for the others to join. And here we think that for the euro area, what is necessary is to first to implement what we have in terms of economic surveillance, and this goes now much beyond the budget, and that was one of the problems that we faced. So basically, to summarize, I would say what we see as the major weaknesses of the first years of EMU is, on the fiscal one, the Stability and Growth Pact focused too much on nominal and too little on structural, with all the pros and cons of this, but this is an issue. We had weak enforcement. 2, on the coordination beyond budget, we had almost nothing, or coordination or enforcement, in terms of pushing countries to do the structural reforms in time, precisely like the picture you were putting here for the Southern Europe and others, that this was not the case. And the situation was hidden by the good budget performance. So the Stability Pact did not kick in because there was no reason to, and we had nothing to deal with the rest. The third thing is the question of the financial markets, that the financial markets didn't play the disciplinary role on the fiscal policy side because we had all this process of yield convergence, risk transfer, etc., through the development of the financial integration and the role of the sovereign bonds in terms of collateral for the ECB having all the same quality in this respect. So basically, there was no response here, no differentiation, and for the financial integration without the common supervisory framework, didn't tackle the problems in time. That was another point that you made, the difference between Europe and the US in terms of tackling the banking sector early enough in the process. So if we see what the response to this, a lot of steps have been taken. I'm not going to go through all the details, but what we think needs to be done more, and this is the blueprint, is really go the whole way to the banking union. So single supervisory mechanism, single resolution mechanism, and what kind of fiscal capacity behind this is a sort of, I mean, how the burden sharing and how the common pool is being organized. So that's the whole picture. The other element here is the moving a step beyond in terms of reforms, and here we have the ex-ante coordination that it is already in the Intergovernmental Treaty, but should be implemented through legislation. And then we have this idea of contract against financial support, which we can develop more if you like, but this is really to push more on that. And we have also in the blueprint this idea about how to promote investment within the Stability and Growth Pact, which is to be explored, but I think it's an interesting avenue. All that to say that we face a difficult process, and I think now going a bit into the politics, what I don't like, let's say, from the external independent analysis or views, is that any decision that is taken is not sufficient. But we know that. We know ex ante that it will not be sufficient. So my question is, how does it help this analysis in order to get things through? Because if I see now the situation in countries like Spain that I know by origin, if the message that it is understood, let's say there, is that you do painful reforms, but we don't see anything, we don't see any green in the table, the result will be that reforms will stop. Because the social tension and the political discussion is such that with such a message can be devastating. That's my personal analysis. So we need to be very careful. We cannot be obviously hiding ourselves and say that everything is beautiful, etc. But we need to go a bit more into the details of things, to be careful about the timing and to keep the right pace of reforms and the way, because they will not deliver very quickly, but they have to continue. So I see a bit of a risk. The same with the big issues like banking union. I'm sure that the decision in the December Council, even myself, I would say it is not enough. It is not what it should be. But we know ex ante that it will not be enough because there are lots of political constraints. But I think the important step is to have a final view, which is what we tried in the blueprint, to say for the euro area to function, we need this. And I think that's pretty clear in the blueprint. And then say, okay, those that want to join this process, they do. For the euro area, it is necessary. So if you want to live and survive in the euro area, you have to do that. And then if the governments have problems with this, well, that needs to be discussed, because then there is a real problem. If they have problems with what is needed in order to live in the euro area, then there is a big problem. And for the others, they can think about. They can think about the pace of joining this process. And then we have to see that steps are being taken. That's my personal view. Even if they are considered not enough, but to be sure that they are taken one after the other and that we move into this direction without kind of deviating from it. And I think that at the current phase, what we need is to move on the three fronts. So we cannot only live with the fiscal discipline. We need to move on the reform front much more and putting together maybe some common decisions on areas like taxation or labor market mobility, etc. And we need to move on the financial sector side because that's...
Marina Varga, Dutch Embassy. You mentioned that there will be a closer link between the country-specific recommendations and multi-annual financial framework. Could you elaborate in terms of new procedures, targeting, programming envelopes, how it will look like? Because the timeframes are obviously not really the same.
Does this work? Yeah, now it's working. On the structural funds, I mean, obviously now we have the discussions and the negotiations on the MFF, but one element that has been reinforced for the next MFF is the so-called macroeconomic conditionality of structural funds, and there we have basically two angles with this. We're having that in the programming phase, we have now so-called partnership agreements. We are now discussing, or the Commission has put forward to all 27 member states their position paper to start the negotiations on the programming of the structural funds, and there the Commission made it quite clear that, well, on the basis of the new general regulation, that the Commission expects a thematic concentration of the structural funds, which are closely related to the CSRs, so basically, or the country-specific recommendations. So basically, the Commission identifies the economic challenges in the member states, and the structural funds should be instrumental to tackle those economic challenges identified by the Commission. So basically, we are using the structural funds to help member states to carry out their reforms. And then in the blueprint, we can develop this a bit further. I mean, we are there in the discussion. I mean, it might even go a bit further, but Elena can maybe add on this one. Then the second angle is on the link of the structural funds with the economic governance framework. So basically, we also have a link to the excessive deficit procedure, the excessive macro imbalances procedure, and for the programming country, or the program countries also have a link to the program implementation of the MOU. So basically, there is a link with the structural funds. So basically, will also be. I mean, the logic is here that basically there is a possibility, an ultimate possibility, that in the next programming period, structural funds could be suspended. I know that this next question will be on Hungary. But I can, if you want, I can come to this. But I mean, I don't need to repeat this discussion then. But certainly, we will have it for all 27 member states, just to preempt the next question. Basically, the idea here, or the logic is here that, as I explained before, we are in the programming phase. The structural funds should be instrumental to tackle the challenges in the member states, but then also the macroeconomic framework conditions should be as such that the structural funds are basically conducive to growth. So basically, we can use them in a proper way. And if a member state has an excessive deficit or excessive macroeconomic imbalances, then there is a problem, and these problems need to be tackled. And that is a reason to suspend structural funds, because you cannot use them in an efficient and effective way if the macroeconomic framework conditions are not there. And that's the logic of suspending the funds until the problems are being tackled. I think, Elena, maybe you want to on the blueprint angle to it?
Yeah, no, maybe just one word. I think that it is useful to see that the EU money, be structural funds or be any additional fiscal capacity as we propose in the blueprint, has two aspects. One is what Carsten explained on the disciplinary side, let's say, if you don't implement the policies that you are supposed to implement, well, you will not be using the funds properly, and therefore we wait that the policies are in place. But what is more, I think, newer here is also the incentive part. So what you explain about the programming phase, I think that's very important to make consistent the macro and the micro use of the funds. And this is something that we have not been doing in this way up to now, not so much. And then on this new fiscal capacity is a bit the same, is really to say if we agree, meaning the European level and the member state, that on the basis of the recommendations given to you, there are these 5 things that the country commits to implement with a strong political support, and that we know they are difficult, we know that they imply specific accompanying measures that can be an additional support from the EU level. And this is the purpose. It's really, I think, on that we are all on the same page, that to push and support the necessary reforms.